Sue?
Mike!
Sue?
Mike, where are you?
Ah! The horror!
Hey, buddy!
Hi!
How's it going? My name is Sue Slachter.
My name's Michael O'Rourke, and welcome to The Horror!
The horror.
Why are you so quiet?
Why are you so loud?
Our movie today is going to be Trick or Treat.
Yay! Trick or treat! Trick or treat!
Trick or Treat. From Michael Dougherty, the director of other films such as Krampus and Godzilla King of the Monsters, comes Trick or Treat, an anthology horror film set during Halloween. The film follows four main stories. The first about a man named Principal Wilkins who confronts a child vandal knocking over jack-o'-lanterns. The second about a group of trick-or-treaters who go to a quarry which happens to be the site of an urban legend about a school bus massacre. The third about a young woman named Lori who arrives in town with her sister and two friends who is looking to have a special night. And the last about an old man who scares away children to steal their candy, only to be confronted by Sam, a demonic child who wears orange footy pajamas and a burlap sack. Will these people make it through Halloween night? And what secrets do they have? I like this film quite a bit. I think they put a lot of effort into this, interconnecting the different stories in the anthology style. Because so many anthology movies have separate stories, but they don't connect to each other at all.
Yeah.
And all of these are actually interconnected with each other. There's characters who go from one story to another story. One story will end and you don't necessarily know what happens to that character, and then they'll pop up in another one.
Yeah, and in addition to the main stories that you listed, there's kind of a foil couple who you see at the beginning of the film, and they have just very brief interactions with characters who are in other stories throughout it. It's kind of there to give you a sense of the timing of each story, when this happens throughout the evening on Halloween. I really love this film. I think that it is definitely a Halloween masterpiece, something that I'm going to want to watch every year. It really gets that great Halloween feeling, you know, like maybe you've had just a little bit too much candy before watching a lot of horror movies and going to bed to have creepy dreams.
I really enjoyed the cast in this film. Dylan Baker does a great job playing Principal Wilkins.
He's one of my favorite characters too.
I love the irritation he has when he's trying to bury the body in the backyard.
Yes.
And his son keeps shouting at him through the window.
In such an excitable little kid way, in a way that a small child will always do, and the parent is just fed up with it. Like, stop yelling, stop shouting, and be quiet.
Daddy! I'm back from trick-or-treating!
And then his neighbor starts yelling at him. His kid comes back and yells more.
Daddy! I want to carve the jack-o'-lantern out, but I need help with the eyes!
In a minute, Billy. I think it's great. Like, he gave a really good performance. He has that inner anger within him, and you can see it just coming out, and he's like struggling to control it.
I really like that they made this character a principal because he interacts with so many of the kids who must go to his school. You know, they're trick-or-treating, or he's interacting with a kid who's been smashing jack-o'-lanterns, and this guy has a lot of respect for Halloween, so he doesn't take too kindly to anybody showing disrespect.
Yeah.
On that special night.
No disrespect. Anna Paquin is also in this movie, who plays Lori. I feel as though she's one of those actresses who always gives like a solid performance. She's kind of like Rogue in this movie a little bit from X-Men, where she's this younger woman who's inexperienced with things and has to kind of go through becoming an adult.
Yeah.
And I kind of see why they chose her for this role, because I feel like they saw that movie and was like, hey, let's get her. She's perfect for this.
Not only that, what really interests me about it is that this film came out in 2007. And then starting in 2008, she was in True Blood. I really appreciate the character that she plays in this film, given that for years afterwards, she's actually going to be kind of known as a vampire princess because of True Blood.
Another standout I want to point out is Brian Cox.
Absolutely.
He's one of those actors, if he's in a movie, I'm immediately interested in watching that movie. Like, I always think he's super solid, always gives a good performance.
Yeah.
It's funny watching him in this movie because at first you don't actually see him. You just hear his voice. And
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was him at first. It almost sounded like Christopher Lloyd to me through the fence.
Who the hell is that?
What are you doing over there?
I got an NRA membership in my pocket.
But then they come back around to his story, Old Man Krieg.
Old Man Krieg.
Old Man Krieg. And yeah, as soon as they show him, you're like, oh, it's Brian Cox. Oh, that's great. They saved his story for last, and I felt like they saved the best actor for last as well.
It's not just his acting, you know, that I feel is really fantastic, but his physical appearance is very changed, you know. I've seen him in everything from, you know, serious films to comedies, and he does really great on all of those and everything in between. But the way that he appears in this film, it definitely took me a minute to recognize him. And his story, I think, is really the most important one. So saving the best for last in that way, his character is very central to the overarching plotline. We're trying really hard not to give away too much here. It's difficult when you have an anthology film with short stories all interweaving and interconnecting with each other. So we're really trying not to spoil the ending of any of them.
Yeah, we always try to spoil some things.
Yeah, just
like
a little spoily.
Usually things that go up to a certain part in the story, but we don't want to spoil the ending of anything. Because these are so interconnected, the ending of one can affect another story.
Yeah.
It's hard to talk about it without talking about too much.
Yeah.
But
So,
we will try.
We're trying. I feel like the storytelling in this film is so well done because while it's definitely frightening, it's also really funny at the right moments, like when it's really trying very purposefully to be funny. And this is shown in things like when you see like the middle school kids going around and trick-or-treating and trying to collect pumpkins for their story. They knock on a door, which is answered by a woman who I'm not sure if it's one of their teachers or just one of the parents in the community that they know. And it looks like they're having a pretty sexy party there.
They're having a swingers party.
Yeah. The adults are so drunk, they're so unaware of how inappropriate they're being, and they just don't even care. You know, they're just trying to enjoy their Halloween as well.
Yeah, I really appreciate with this film how tightly written it is.
Yeah.
I don't feel like there's any scenes that are wasted in this movie. Like, everything has its place and its purpose. And there's a reason for all the scenes to be there. There's not a whole lot of filler. This movie's only 82 minutes.
It's tight, for sure.
And one problem a lot of anthology movies have is that because they usually have stories that are disconnected, it's hard to get too attached to characters before you're thrown into a different story. But because these stories are interweaving with each other, I found it was easier to get invested in what was going on.
Yeah. It's really cool and exciting that the events are being told out of order, you know, so you might know how one person's story finishes, but then see them later, still alive and healthy, in somebody else's story. When it comes to the middle school kids, I really like that the character who's a total bitch is dressed as an angel. Macy, portrayed by Britt McKillen. She does a really great job of generally being a character that I don't like, so good for you. I hope you're pleasant in real life. It was really fun to watch her be a pain in the ass.
Well, and of course, in a Halloween theme movie, the bad character is going to be dressed as an angel, and then the good character is going to be dressed as a witch.
Speaking of witches, I did really like the performance for the character Rhonda, too, by Sam Todd. I felt like she did a great job, and that the character was played very respectfully, given that, you know, she's being bullied in the film, and I just thought that she was amazing and kicked a lot of ass.
Yeah, that can be something that's really hard to portray well and actually have a sense of grace portraying that. They do a really good job with writing her character. I really appreciate, too, that this movie is set during Halloween. It's about Halloween, and it's central to the theme of the movie.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of Halloween movies out there that are like that. They're pretty few and far between. So it's nice to see one that actually comes along, and even like the main horror icon from this movie, Sam, is related directly to Halloween.
Yeah.
Like, he is a Halloween character, period.
Oh, and I love Sam. He's so creepy. I mean, that was definitely something throughout the movie where I'd see him and be like, oh no, what's happening with that? I also really, really want that lollipop that Sam has. It looks so tasty. It looks really good. Where can you find one of these?
I don't know. I really appreciate with Sam how he's just kind of hanging around in the movie. He's just sitting back and watching a lot of stuff and seeing how these different stories play out.
Yeah.
And you can tell he's ready to strike as soon as someone disrespects Halloween.
Yeah, exactly. He's sort of like a guardian of Halloween is how I see him, you know? And if you're respecting the holiday, then Sam's going to be cool with you. But again, that theme of disrespecting the holiday, you know, and getting a form of recompense for that, and you're not going to like it. They used the character in the right way. They weren't heavy-handed with him.
Yes.
You know, again, like you said, springing into action when it's not only appropriate, but when it's really exciting for it to happen. And you're finally like, what is going to happen with this character? Are they going to do anything?
Yeah. No, they definitely saved the best for last. Like I said, with Brian Cox, and it also involves the Sam character. You could tell they really wanted to make that like the special part of the movie, especially with the unmasking of Sam and see what he looks like underneath.
Oh, yeah.
And especially for a movie made in the 2000s, it's nice to see like actual puppet effects or animatronic effects instead of them just going full CGI with it. It gives it like a really old school horror vibe to it, like kind of like an 80s horror movie.
Yeah. And I always feel like with animatronics, it always feels more realistic, if you can say such a thing about, you know, monsters and ghouls and stuff like that. But it's actually there as opposed to being, you know, put in after the fact while editing.
You know, it's too bad they couldn't call him Pumpkinhead.
I know, yeah. Too bad that one was taken. But I think Sam, for Sam Hain, is pretty clever. I enjoy that because, again, so much about this movie is relating it to the old legends and myths around Halloween, All Hallows Eve, Sam Hain, you know, and respecting the holiday. So I kind of preferred they went in that direction outside of Pumpkinhead.
Well, and to be clear, in the film itself, they actually never call him Sam.
Yeah.
I only found out after I saw it and I started doing some research because I didn't know what to call his character. And I found out his name was Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of that freaky little kid who scared me.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say there was some really good use of CG in this movie. One of my favorite parts in the film is when you see a werewolf transformation. And this transformation is pretty badass. I like the way they do it. It's definitely a combination of CG and some makeup effects, because you start seeing human skin get ripped off and they drop it on the ground and it's all ooey gooey, you know. They do a lot of good gross texturing with their fur and things like that I really appreciate.
Yeah. I enjoyed when they were taking off their skin and like their leg. They would take off the leg skin and it was almost like they were taking off a sock.
Right, yeah.
I've never seen that with a werewolf transformation. It's always like the skin always seems to just like come off or the hair grows out of the skin.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was like they were just like taking off their human clothes was what it looked like.
Yeah, I liked that too. It made me wonder, you know, like, so when they turn back into human, do they grow new skin? Like, does it reappear? Or, I mean, maybe the skin is a costume and they put it back on over them?
My theory is that when they turn back into humans, they just take off their werewolf skin the same way, and then just like human back inside.
That's interesting.
And they just go through that again and again.
Keep ripping off those layers.
Yep, just ripping off that skin.
Yum.
You said your theory about Sam was that he is like the spirit of Halloween.
I think he's a guardian of Halloween.
A guardian of Halloween.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a theory that he was like a spirit of Halloween. Or my other theory was because he seems to really care about candy and trick-or-treating.
He sure does, yeah.
Maybe he was a murdered child.
Oh, yeah.
Murdered trick-or-treater at some point. The movie does not give you any clues. It doesn't tell you. He's just there. Yeah, I found that part interesting. How he really seemed to care about that one aspect, was the trick-or-treating.
I do like that idea, too, because the film is chock full of references to needing to check your candy for poisons or knives. You know, it's a pretty nasty thing.
Yeah.
In the best way possible.
Yes. One thing I really enjoyed with this film, too, is that it definitely has a unifying theme of comeuppance.
Oh, yeah.
Where
totally.
People are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, and they kind of meet their gruesome ends, so to speak, if they're not being the best person they could be.
Yeah.
So it's not just about disrespecting Halloween, but also just if you're being a shitty person, then you'll get yours in the end.
Yeah, nobody gets away with anything, which is kind of satisfying when you're watching a horror movie. I really enjoyed this film, and if you have the opportunity, I would say definitely watch it this Halloween.
Yeah, check it out, for sure.
Yeah. All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in.
Take it easy. Have fun out there.
Happy Halloween. Be safe.
Happy Halloween.